Welcome, everybody, back to the Uncommon Man podcast. It's Uncommon Man Day now that we've labelled this day, and I'm here today with my good friend Mark and my hippie sermon leader Rob. I'm very much looking forward to the conversation today. I've really started to enjoy this podcast and these conversations that we have, especially when I look back over the content. So I think I'm.
So you enjoy watching yourself back, just chatting crap, do you?
Yeah, mainly me.
Surprising.
It's mainly me that
A lot of energy between you two today. Got a lot of like
it's sexual tension.
Now we need to customarily start with our ginger
Yeah.
shot. So,
Yes.
So last time we had the Pret ginger shot.
Okay.
Yeah. This time I've gone for Moju.
Okay.
Okay.
Look smaller.
Yeah, it looks smaller.
Are they smaller?
They call
Possibly.
it a bloodshot.
Oh,
Where it looks smaller, but actually it's delivers quite a big punch.
could be true.
Are we in? So are we going to start every podcast with this?
I think we should, yeah.
Till we get a sponsor.
Till we get a sponsor, yeah. So Moju, if you're watching.
There you go. Right. Come on then. Josh, you kick us off. Give us your verdict first of all.
Okay. I'm not going to sip it like you do.
No.
Ooh, smells quite.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah?
Yeah, no, it's not a hot shot though, is it?
No.
There is a
it's
difference.
It's a ginger shot. It's not.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Go on.
It's still quite hot though. Don't laugh when you're doing it.
How's that?
Still tickles the back of your throat.
Yeah.
Oh.
Still tastes hot
Oh,
to me.
come
Fucking
off
hell.
it, mate. It's not that bad, is it?
I've got a little
what
something
is-
for the lads.
Okay.
Just gonna get that ASMR.
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
So, I can't claim to have
It's
made
like a
this.
9 bar.
Can't claim to have made this. There's a lot of leftover bananas in the fridge last night.
Oh.
Late last night, my girlfriend said, "Why don't we make some banana bread?"
Oh,
Take some to
yes.
Uncommon Man. Do you like banana bread?
I do,
Actually,
yeah.
are you sure?
He's like frowning. He's like, what? He's like,
Do you want a piece, mate? You don't have to have
Is
it now.
pre-cut?
Yeah, it's pre-cut.
Oh, but it gets everywhere, doesn't it?
I'm gonna be diving in. Yes. This is one of my favourite things.
Lamry, are you having some?
Oh yeah.
Cheers, Sammy. You made this?
It's lucky it is actually nice because I wouldn't be able to slate it live on a podcast. Oh, so
Because we used to do a thing when that day started was mob.
it's
fit.
really rude to eat with your mouth full.
Eat with your mouth full.
Sorry, speak with your mouth full.
Oh, this makes for great fucking listening, doesn't it?
Back when that
Remember
day
save-
started and we were very, very busy, Rob and I had.
Oh, those were the
Delusions
days,
of
the busy
Grandeur,
days.
where we were going to start this Instagram page where we would rate banana bread from different cafes. Never really got
No,
off
it
the
took
ground,
off.
did it?
I think we did one post and then it stopped.
Is there actually a post of you two rating a...
Rating a cake. I think it was Cakes and Curls, wasn't it?
What, and that was going to be the marketing
No.
vehicle
No,
behind
right.
that day?
Just a little side hustle.
No,
What, so you could grow it and then you could like go to cafes and go,
Yeah, just get free cake.
we'll get free cake
Yeah.
and
With a
we'll,
cake,
yeah.
So how you been, Josh?
That banana bread was fucking lovely, mate.
Yeah.
Very, very nice.
You were unsure at the start, weren't you? You were unsure at the start, but now you're happy.
Yeah, I was worried that it was going to send me off back down a sugar rabbit hole, actually. If that happens today, it's on you, Mark. All right,
Not me,
so,
Mark.
friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in a very jovial, good mood today. And you know what? I genuinely look forward to Uncommon Man Day, spending time with you guys, and then getting to Uncommon Man. I say that as in a hyped up, fun way, but I also say it in a really value it in my calendar. As a bit of like looking after myself and stuff like that as well. What about you? How are you, mate?
Yeah, really good. It's been a good start to the year. It's been very. I've had a lot of what Pat Divilly would call warrior energy.
Nice.
Just like getting stuff done, sticking to a routine. I was a bit out of kilter with that at the end of last year, so I've set myself a few goals. It's nice to have that again, have a bit of structure, and that's been really, really nice. So I'm feeling good after a few weeks of consistency. which is good. Yeah, and very much looking forward to today. We're all in a fun mood. Marky, how are you?
Yeah, I'm in a fun mood. I was a bit of a slow start to January, but the first couple of weeks, I'd moved house, I was getting used to a new routine and stuff, but the end of January got a bit more consistency, and I think it was actually last Thursday, not long ago. I was like, okay, I'm settled now. I know where things are. My routine, joined a new jiu-jitsu club down the road, so feeling a bit more settled.
Have you moved far from where you lived?
About a 15-minute drive, but it's just like a different area, and for me, I like to feel settled in a place. I need to know like where my favourite little shops are to buy my food because I love cooking, and then having my like gym sorted, jiu-jitsu club, places to go for like runs and stuff, and I finally feel like I've kind of figured that out a little bit.
Nice.
Where are we going to take the episode today, lads?
Well, we had a few questions, didn't we? So we got some of those. So we can kick off with one of those if we want.
I actually had one that.
Should we kick off with the lion one?
Go on.
I think it's a good question.
Yeah, so we thought we put out a little question on Instagram, like, guys, do you want to ask us some nice questions for the podcast? And what was the first one that came back?
Oh, this was on the WhatsApp group.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The first one that came back was from Ollie.
Yeah.
You won't mind me saying. What does a lion smell like?
I wish I knew. I think that's something that should be on my bucket list, actually, to know what the smell of a lion is.
If anyone's going to try it on with a lion,
Yeah.
as in fight, not sexually,
Yeah.
you would be.
No, I think he'd be more likely to try it on sexually with a lion.
Maybe
And I
both.
think the
maybe
lion.
both.
I think the lion would be into it as well.
I reckon if I grew my hair out, there was a time when I had big hair. I had big hair. Like
Yeah, I
I'm
remember you
talking,
saying, yeah.
Like as long as kind of down here, but it wasn't like styled like yours. It was just all out here.
Styled?
I look. But I look like a lion, and I reckon if I crawled in with a bit of like a little bit of cat shoulders into like the lion's den, I reckon they'd accept me as their own.
Yeah, but what would you?
And I'd probably
what
take over the
scent
pride.
Would you be wearing to ensure that happens? I'm thinking very sort of like not sauvage.
No. Oh no.
No. More like, have you ever used any types of beard oil that have got a bit of that sort of like masculine? Couple more weeks, you'll need to get yourself some, Rob.
Oh yeah.
What you say? It's got a bit of a masculine
smell. Yeah,
Okay.
that's how I imagine it. Yeah.
What is a masculine smell, John?
Well,
Why
like
don't we dive into
beard
that?
oil. What annoys me,
Yeah.
right?
Here we go.
When you try and get beard oil, right? Because they think everyone that's got a beard is a bit of a hippie.
Yeah.
Like all of the smells are a little bit sort of like festival-y.
Okay.
Yeah?
What does
Understand
that mean?
what I'm saying?
Like
What?
floral?
Dry BO.
No. What? Have you ever been to a festival that smells fucking floral?
Well, I don't. I
Dry
just thinking.
BO's closer.
Okay.
No, it smells a little bit like incensey.
Incensey.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think a lion would smell a little bit incensey.
Right.
Do you think?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
No.
with a bit of white YSL.
I think a lion would smell
Why
kind of
so?
like. I think they would like the smell of sort of like a new carpet. You know when you like lay carpet and you like roll on the carpet and you kind of can smell it. I reckon they're like that.
I think it smells a bit
Sniffed a few
like
carpets. Have you?
you've got some. I think they smell like when you take a bit of meat out the fridge and you say to your friend and partner, like, "Does that smell alright to you?" Smell it, and no, bin it.
They like that.
No, that's what they smell like.
Oh,
Like
really?
a bit
Just
meaty that's
slight
gone
meat
off.
just
'Cause
going
it's
off
like
a
eating
little.
meat and like.
So it's not
Slightly off meat.
Yeah.
No.
Well, they're eating meat and
No,
stuff
they
all
don't.
day.
Yeah.
Their
Do you
hygiene's
smell like
not-
what you eat.
I
don't
honestly
particularly
think.
smell
I
like
reckon if
banana
you put
cake
your
over it.
nose into Josh's man bun now, you'll know what a lion smells like.
Yeah.
Go on, smell it. Come on.
Well, that smells quite nice. Do you put hairspray in that?
No.
Is it
Herbal
a bit
ess- herbal
bit
essences?
incensey?
I think it was like a minty shampoo that I washed it with last night. Yeah.
Herbal essences. The ones that make your balls.
Well, it probably
No,
won't
that's
be.
not herbal.
No. Well, you've
That's,
been.
not
Is it
natural.
not?
It's called Origin. No.
Oh, I don't know.
But no, it wouldn't have been herbal essence. It would have been more like Burble Sessence, you know, from Aldi.
Tresemme.
From Aldi. So like their version of it. So yeah.
The other question. Should we move on to the next question?
Yeah.
Done enough of the
Let's
lions.
do a proper
smell?
question.
I actually had a private message.
Okay, nice.
So
Go for it.
Let me just get it out. It was something along the. Let me see. I screenshotted it. So it said, chaps, love the podcast. I've been following Rob for a while on Instagram.
Have you made this up?
No.
Don't like
I've
him
been
already.
following Rob on Instagram for a while, and it's clear that he loves the gym. My question, though, is for Josh.
Real, that.
Yeah, this is real. Clearly loves the gym, but my question is for Josh. Weights or cardio? You look like a cardio guy. That's real.
Who's that? God.
Go on, Josh. He used to be a
thought that was
cardio
going
guy.
to be a real question.
No, sorry.
It's gonna be a real question. Oh, is that the one that you had in your DM?
That's what I had in my DM.
Oh yeah.
What's the other question that we were going to?
It was around self-care.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, you mentioned this earlier about how Uncommon Man Day is actually a little bit of looking after yourself.
Yeah.
Why don't you kick us off talking about? Do
Let
you
me-
have any
sure,
kind
let
of?
me
read the question out.
Yeah,
Let me
read the
get-
question. Go on, read
so
the
that we
question.
get clear context. I'm going to read an actual real question.
Okay.
You know, keep this thing on track.
Because it's it's an interesting topic, and it's something that's talked about a lot at the moment, like self-care and whether people need to be having these sort of big routines in the morning and morning routines, and separating out time to look after yourself. So I think it can be a bit of an interesting topic. Go.
If there's a couple of minutes left, oh no, sorry, that's just introing the question. So the question is, can you be asked to do self-care? Question mark. How do you approach it? Question mark. And how does needing to look after yourself make you feel? So if we
start
break
with
down the question
yeah.
by starting, what is self-care?
Well, to me, it's literally prioritizing some time to look after yourself. So that's what I take it to mean.
So anything that I do to look after myself.
Yeah, that's what I take it to mean. Would
Yeah.
you agree with that, or do you have a different view on it?
Yeah, anything that I'm actively
Yeah.
and consciously doing to look after the self, which is slightly different, changes up the sentence slightly.
Okay.
To look after the self. So when I say the self, I mean like your core self.
As opposed to myself.
As opposed to if you understand that we have all parts of ourselves. So it's really like making sure that you drill down into who you are and what you need in that moment. Because I think we do a lot of things that are actually about avoiding, which is slightly different. However, I do think that sometimes we need to avoid as well. And so the act of avoiding is part of the self-care.
Okay. Mark, would you agree on it's prioritizing some time to look after
Yeah, and
yourself,
often
the self?
it's for me like some things that make me feel good.
Yeah.
But then I think that's maybe an avoidant tactic, thinking about it, of like, are you doing things to make yourself good so you avoid having to feel like the things that you're feeling or upset when
Well,
you're
let's
made.
look. If I throw an example out there, right, an obvious example that let's say that most people would probably do, yeah, a glass of wine on a Friday night.
Not you two, me though.
Yeah, but I know we both don't drink, right? But say for somebody that didn't have a problem with alcohol, yeah. Well, let me just throw the question out. The answer is yes or no. Is a glass of wine on a Friday night self-care?
It depends on the context. Depends on it. So I've had situations where it's I feel adding to an evening in a positive way, and I've had a glass of wine where I'm trying to escape some kind of emotion. But it's interesting to think about whether in that moment, if you're feeling stressed or anxious and you have a glass of wine and temporarily it might make yourself feel better, is that self-care or is it not? And then is that the act of having alcohol, good or bad for your body? Is that self-care? Is the temporary relief count as self-care, or does it need to be something that has a prolonged positive effect? So I don't have a clear answer for you there, Josh. It's a good example. You've gone for a big one straight away.
Well, the reason I did it very purposely, right? And
Yeah.
I've had this kind of, I've actually bring this kind of conversation when if I'm working with groups of people, right? Because I think it's like important to, I always say that if you're doing it, so the next question I would normally ask people, right, is if you're doing it to escape, then why is that a problem? Like life's hard, man. Sometimes you need to escape it, innit?
Yeah.
So why is it not self-care if it is the act of escaping? It could still be self-care. And then if you switched a glass of wine on a Friday night, right, and inserted going for a long run.
Yeah.
Is going for a long run self-care?
I think it comes down to the net effect. I think it comes down to the net, whether it is a net positive or negative. So if you continuously, for me, okay, I can only speak for me. If I one of the reasons having a break from alcohol is because I could get into a rhythm of 3 or 4 nights a week.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going through a stressful period, I might have a drink, and it would be 1 or 2 drinks. It wouldn't be more than that. And someone else saying, "Oh, you have a couple of drinks 3 or 4 nights a week," it doesn't sound like that much, right? It doesn't sound too bad. But I know that I'm doing it as for medicinal purpose in that state. So it's like I'm stressed. It becomes automatic. It's like I'll have a drink. It's that kind of thing. But overall, that habit isn't actually making myself feel better. So in the moment it is, but actually what would be much better is for me to address, okay, what is causing me this stress? What is the underlying reason why I'm getting to the end of the day and I'm feeling like I have this emotion that I need to run away from, which is the truth in that moment for me. What's the reason for that? So I can temporarily put a bandage over it, or I can actually try and properly like treat the wound, right? So I think it comes down to that. Whereas if people don't use it for that reason, and you use it as a way to have a nice sort of little change your states slightly, which is fine, I think, and create a bit of a mood and have a nice conversation, and you don't have too much, then I think it can be an act of self-care.
I think it's also like using the wine analogies gives more power to having a variety of self-care tools, because the more you rely on one element, and if your self-care is always a glass of wine, it starts on a Friday night, and then actually you've had a stressful Tuesday, I'll have another glass because it makes you feel better, then your crux becomes the wine. Whereas if you have a variety of different tools that you can pull on, in some ways, yes, you might still be avoiding your issue, which is another element to it, but at least you've got a variety of tools to draw on rather than just over-reliance on one. I think that's my personal opinion of, because sometimes I use a glass of red, as Bob said, it creates like a nice atmosphere. It allows me to like lean into the relaxing of the evening, but then other times I will go to a really hard gym session, or I'll scream into a pillow, or whatever it is. There's like different things I can pull on. I think it's a really important element to self-care is experimenting, finding things that you work for you, and then just constantly kind of rotating through.
Yeah, so I like that, right? And I would say that a lot of it becomes about awareness and knowing, what am I doing here, right? Am I having a glass of wine to escape my pain, right? Or to numb out for the evening because I've had a fucking hard week, which in some ways is okay, yeah? Same as it's okay to go for a run, or it's okay to watch a film on Netflix or whatever. If you're actively knowing I'm escaping how I'm feeling at the moment, but overall, my overall plan throughout my life is to see what's gnawing at me and try and work out and understand what's gnawing at me. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If you're just blindly numbing out all of the time, then it's different.
Yeah.
So to sort of bring it back to the question in terms of what is self-care, I think when we become aware and we're conscious of what we're doing, then sometimes we need an escape, you know? I don't drink anymore, but I know sometimes I'll sit and do a whole tub of ice cream in front of Netflix, which ain't particularly good for me. But in that moment, it's exactly what I need. Yeah, I haven't got the energy left to even try and actively work on myself. So what I do need tonight is to numb out and escape from who I am.
But then what is the net effect of that? If you say you do that 3 times a week, 4 times a week, is that making you feel better?
No, because if I'm constant, it depends.
Yeah.
It depends how heavy what I'm dealing with it.
Even if you're aware, say you're aware that, okay, I know that I'm numbing out, I know that I'm using the tub of ice cream to temporarily make myself feel better, and you're aware 3 times or 4 times a week that you're doing it, and then you get to the end of a month and you go, fuck, I've eaten too much ice cream, and I'm feeling now shit about myself. Was that an act of self-care, or was it a bit of self-destruction?
Look, I think if you're doing it 3 or 4 times a week, that's probably a sign that you need to start doing some deeper work here.
Yeah.
Right?
But go on, sorry, you can finish.
But what I would say is that if you're doing it 3 or 4 times a week, then what it's probably pointing to is that there's something really overwhelming going on in your life.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And so at some point you're going to need to get to grips with that. Now, what I would say is that if you think about the level of trauma that people are experiencing, right, or may have experienced, who am I to judge whether somebody is doing something too much. You know, it's like when they say, would you give a homeless person money if you knew it was for drugs? And if the answer is no, I wouldn't give it to him if I knew it was for drugs, then you're making a judgment. You're saying, I know what's good for you. And if I was in your position, I would not want to do drugs, and I'd want to, right? And you don't know that. You don't know what somebody's going through, yeah? So the levels of what we're experiencing will often determine how we show up to our life, right? But if you want to try and create change in your life, then, and I'm contradicting myself here because we're into that stage of what we're talking about, then you do need to try and do something, right?
It's that self-awareness as well. I think of a lot of people won't realise that the tub of ice cream is the numbing out. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, what are my habits that help me to numb out? I think once you build the awareness about, okay, my tub of ice cream is me numbing out, most people, if they're ready to make the change, will connect the dots and be like, okay, the ice cream is me numbing out from something. What is that? And then you start to kind of explore it. But until you develop the self-awareness to know what it is that's your crux, then you will keep doing that cycle. So I think self-awareness is a massive part of it to realise.
And you can, just to be clear, switch, because we you know, we've gone from wine to ice cream, but you can switch in, say, working out in there. Yeah, somebody that's just fucking obsessively working out every day and clearly has got something going on in their life, but is just going to the gym in the morning, going to work, coming home, going to the gym at night, and just hitting that. I would say that's the same. You're still escaping.
It's a classic thing, isn't it, that people coming from addiction to substances can get really addicted to exercise.
Yeah.
That's a very common thing, isn't it?
Very common, yeah.
And it's, my thoughts on that are like, it's a big improvement.
Yeah.
The net positive there is massive.
Yeah.
You know, and people are like, I need to have this. I need to like push myself and be knackered, and I need to feel, and I need those endorphins, and I need those feelings in order to be able to function for the rest of the day. So previously they might have done that through alcohol or drugs, and now it's kind of exercise. And to bring it back to myself, it's like, it would be alcohol or exercise, which would be like my sort of two things typically.
Yeah.
So, but if I go out and do a workout, I come back in the evening, I feel great, and I wake up the next day and I feel better. You know, as long as I'm not destroying myself and overtraining. And whereas if I have a few glasses of wine, I'll go to bed feeling a bit shit. That I would anyway. I'd be like, fuck's sake, and I wake up the next day having not slept as well. And so for me, they're both they're different different tactics to numb out.
Yeah.
But one has a much better effect than the other.
And definitely. And one gives you more opportunity to be able to explore what the underlying thing that you're trying to escape from is. Yeah. And I mean, that runs really deep because I'll be 11 years sober this year, and I have to exercise pretty much every morning.
Yeah.
You know, people, you know, like you can talk about it in the self-care thing of the whole getting up at 5 a.m. and, you know, working out before you start working and how that's a great act of self-care. I mean, like I don't really have a choice. If I go a few days without doing that, I am gone, messed up in my head. Like,
I think we all can agree on that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Bringing it back to kind of almost the second part of the
you
question.
then agree that I'm a mess if I don't.
No.
Exercise.
I should have meant it like that. But like, we're all in that same boat. The exercise is fundamental.
Yeah, but I really have to do it in the morning. If I roll out of bed and I don't exercise in the morning, it has a real negative impact on me.
But also you've got 6 kids, so the chances of stuff coming up in the day, and it's like you said, if I don't get up in the morning and have my time, then your time is taken up with work and family. And
yeah, but it's just interesting because people will automatically call the fact that I get up every morning and go to the gym as discipline. But it ain't too dissimilar as getting up every morning and reaching for what works.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Am I making sense in what I'm saying?
If I hear another PT talk about like how discipline is, I honestly, it's like, it's all on Instagram everywhere at the moment about how, you know, you need to be disciplined and not motivated. And I don't, for whatever reason, I really feel like I'm reacting. I know, sorry, we're going off topic here.
It's fine, yeah.
But I find it like really, I kind of find that it's for people that aren't in a good rhythm. If you're telling them like, you just got to be disciplined, it's actually really unhelpful. And how people are like demonizing motivation is like, for me, I think they're very, very closely linked. Like, you are motivated to be a certain person. Motivation is just the reason why you do or do not do something.
Yeah.
Discipline more comes from almost like a punishment origin. It's like you're doing it despite, you're being almost forced to doing it. You're kind of forcing yourself to doing it. I think the much more positive thing is to tap into that deeper motivation where you're saying, I want to be that person. I want to feel that way. I know that this action is going to be, if I do it consistently, going to be really, really helpful. And that's still motivation at the same time. But like when you get up in the morning and you say, I just have to do it. Is that because you're gone? It's more like a habit now. It's just your routine. You just get up. You don't even think about it. Or sometimes do you get up and you go, I really don't want to go to the gym?
No, I very rarely wake up and say that I don't want to go to the gym.
Yeah.
Very rarely, because this is the thing, yeah? One of the things that I do think about the fitness industry is that it's full of PTs whose addiction is exercise. And they're trying to get people who are addicted to food and not exercising to become addicted to exercising. And I never see that conversation being had. Like, the reason I exercise every morning is because my addictive nature. And I'm just obsessed with the way that it makes me feel. So I don't know how I can teach that. I don't know, like give you trauma and then make you hit rock bottom like I did with using alcohol and have to have no choice but to find something else. Do you understand what I mean? Like, I could easily go, it's because I'm disciplined, man. And I fucking know it's a non-negotiable. And I've probably said those things in the past. But the reality is that it's probably more just, it's a little bit life or death for me.
When I exercise, like sometimes I'll get to the end of the day and I haven't exercised. And it's not discipline that makes me exercise in the evening. It's wanting to avoid the feeling of self-judgment if I don't.
Yeah.
That is the reason. I get to the end. If I don't exercise, like I will slightly beat myself up and be like, mate, that was shit. And that sort of self-judgment, being a little bit harsh on myself, actually means that I'm pretty fit and healthy. So I'm okay with having that little piece of myself. And if I remove that and let myself go, was nice to myself every time, then I wonder how I would then feel.
Yeah.
I disagree. I actually think it is about discipline. For me, and I know this is contrasting to the two of you, but for me, that we're talking about habits and like my motivation, especially the last couple of years, is kind of waned a little bit when it comes to exercise. But it's just ingrained in me. I know it's good for me. It makes me feel good about myself, and it's like part of my beliefs as a person that you should move regularly and often. And I think for me, it's just discipline of like this is who I am, and every day or like 6 days a week, I get up and I exercise in some way, shape, or form. And then when my motivation is really high, I can work out a lot harder. But when my motivation wanes, I know that it's just part of who I am and what I do.
I don't want to split hairs though, but what I'm trying to say,
that's exactly what.
Okay. Here. What I'm trying to say is that I actually think that you're tapping into, in those moments where you don't come out of bed with loads of energy, you're actually tapping into a deeper level of motivation. You're motivated by the feeling after you train. You know you're going to feel good after you train. Even if you feel shit, the more shit you feel, you know actually it's going to have an even more of a positive effect. So you're actually tapping into a deeper motivation rather than you're sort of like dragging yourself to sort of do it almost as like you got no choice, Mark. I think actually it's like, no, you are this person. You are going to feel good after this. You know it's good for me. Like, I know it's a real subtle difference, but
it is a difference. But firstly, I don't think there is a right or wrong, and I don't think you can disagree on, like, if you do one thing one way and someone does it a different way. I don't think it's disagreeing. I just think we do it different ways. But what I kind of hear, and I'm like thinking as we speak, certainly me and probably Rob as well, we're more likely to be motivated by our negative feelings of shame that come with not exercising, whereas you're more motivated by the kind of like positive outcome and the positive impact that it has on your life. I'm way more likely to do something through fear of judgment from myself and probably other people, right? That's way more likely to motivate me to do something than a kind of positive self-motivation of how good it'll make me feel afterwards.
But I think actually that sometimes that can be a good motivator. I know it's often like demonized, oh, you shouldn't be motivated by fear. But it's a positive thing that you're still exercising a little.
100%.
It's still
like
a valid place.
100%. My experience throughout my like particularly my last 10 years of my life, right, is the greatest moments of like my journey have always been born out of what felt like the worst moments. Without exception. Without exception. And so for me, and I guess, you know, what I'm hearing is that you're different in this way, but I am motivated by the fear of pain, yeah, of internal pain, be that from self-judgment or judgment of others. You know, what motivates me to eat well is when I look in the mirror and I start thinking that I don't look very good. Now, how healthy is that? I don't know. Like, I don't know, but it works because I never go too far down a certain path.
Yeah.
And that's probably been born out of my difficult experiences that I had with how hard it was for me to get out of the rut that I found myself in with alcohol. But it is always driven by, it always comes from a place of being less than.
Which links, I think, into the last part of that question that I thought was quite an interesting part of it. Is how do you feel about the need for self-care for yourself?
Yeah.
Like, for me, if you're not taking care of yourself and self-care, like, what are you kind of doing? You're just floating through and just allowing stuff to hit you, and then you're reactive. Whereas self-care, I think, is quite a proactive approach to, okay, I know the things that help me maintain and keep on top of stuff. Otherwise, you go into a state of a lot of stuff happening, and then you're like, shit, I need to change a lot. Whereas self-care is just those little, I think, blocks each day that keep me on top of things. And then I feel it if I don't do those things. Well, how do you feel about self-care in general?
Yeah, I think I see it as like, well, I see us as almost, if you kind of use the analogy of like a vessel. So like imagine you've got a ship or something. If you don't maintain it, which in essence what self-care is, it's maintenance, right? It's maintenance so you can perform and feel good and whatever. If you don't maintain it, then your journey and the chance of you, you know, being blown over in a storm or whatever are increased. The journey is not as fun. We've got like one vessel to kind of go through, navigate through life with. It's just a way of looking after that vessel and enhancing our experience when we only have that amount of time to kind of enjoy it, right?
I think it's also linked with like self-love as well, which I think a lot of people can feel awkward about, like the idea of loving myself. But I think that's a journey that I've found myself on. Like if I look at the last, particularly 5 years, learning to be okay with loving myself and wanting or needing something just for myself, yeah? Not to please anybody else, not to make myself lovable. Like there's that aspect of why I do the self-care, which is like my kids deserve me to look after myself so that I can, you know, give myself the best opportunity to be here to support them through, you know, their younger years of their life, right? And my, you know, my wife, and in that relationship, there's all of those aspects of caring for myself in a selfless manner to be there for other people so that I can show up in my relationships. And then there's that other aspect of loving myself enough to give myself what I want and what I need. I think that's something that I think particularly men, but I think a lot of people struggle with that aspect of, you know, how often do you do something for yourself that's based solely on making yourself feel good and nobody else and nothing else?
Yeah, I haven't thought of it in that way. So so what you're saying is making yourself feel good in the moment, long term, or because that's an interesting one as well. What constitutes making yourself feel good?
When was the last time you did something that was solely for you, nobody else? And what was it? You did it because you love to do it. It wasn't because of work. It wasn't because of your partner. In your case, Rob, children. When did you say, I'm going to do something for myself today? And you went and did it?
Wouldn't know.
Yeah, right. That makes it a slightly more awkward conversation. I mean, look, to give answers off. When I go to the gym, I go to the gym purposely on my own. I never work out with anybody. That's not why I go. I often wear headphones in the gym with no music on them, but they are a deterrent, so people don't fucking speak to me.
I remembered something that I did do. I took a day off and I went to Box Hill in Surrey and I climbed it by myself and got out in nature by myself. And that was just that. And I hadn't done something like that in so long.
I bet there's not many people that have done that
Yeah.
recently, something like that.
And it was pissing down with rain and got completely drenched.
Sounds
and then
like a great crack.
It was great. It was awesome.
Yeah, I bet it was.
I felt in the elements. I was like, it's very minor, but like where we live now is a little bit further away from a park. Basically, we used to live really near a park, so I used to get out in the woods in the park loads. It just with kids and everything, it's just a bit more of a faff to do that now. And I suddenly realised I was like, I haven't just been in amongst the trees and the rain and the wind, like, do you know what I mean, for a while. Do you
should pretend to be a lion for a while, hadn't you?
Yeah.
My whole year last year was basically about what you were talking. It was kind of tongue in cheek. I had this thing called the Eat, Pray, Love tour, where once a month I did something that was just for me.
Wow.
Because I wanted to set the intention of for the year, like being a bit more selfish for myself, and that actually forced me to do something just for myself that I enjoyed for 12 months of the year.
Highlight? Give us a highlight.
Trip out to the west coast of Ireland, similar to Rob. Tried to climb this mountain. It was just like pissing down. Yeah, I had to abandon it. It was
failure.
And I'm back down.
And I hate myself again.
So your highlight of last year doing stuff for yourself was when you failed to climb.
Yeah. But it was like it was biblical rain. It was like we had the big storm in the UK, and I just stood on the side of this mountain, like screamed by myself.
Did you?
For ages. And same as Bob, it was pissing it down, soaking, but that was amazing for myself. That was quite a big turning point for my year. But yeah.
What about you, Josh, apart from your gym? Have you ever done like a day?
Yeah, I struggle actually to answer that question. I find it really difficult to do things for myself out of the context of making other people happy. So most things that I do are to try and please either people in a work aspect or to please my wife and kids.
What would be the thing if I had to ask you today? Be like, okay, tomorrow you get to have a day just for yourself. What sort of things would you do?
Anything on my own. I mean, I do find time on my own regularly. Yeah. So like I do like. It sounds crazy. I love being on the train on my own. I love being in the car on my own. So I do carve out those moments, but they're only, I'm carving them out of my kind of day-to-day thing, yeah? But the stuff that, walking up the hill and that on your own and stuff, all of that stuff, I love the idea of that. Look, I've got 6 kids, right? And, some of them come on the weekends, and so, I have to be there on the weekends because it's the only time I see them. So there are restraints. I'm not making excuses because I think even without them, I'd still, a lot of the work that I've had to do over the years is to find out who I am away from the context of other people.
I also think though that especially when you become a parent, that added purpose of providing and protecting and looking after your family and making them happy becomes in effect the most rewarding thing. I find anyway that it's like if I do something nice for them, I feel amazing.
Yeah.
And so it's hard for me to feel as good as that if I'm just by myself doing something.
And like when I get offered to go places, if I can't bring my kids in that, it doesn't remotely interest me. Like literally, it doesn't remotely interest me. When people say, "Oh, do you want to come and do this?" and I think I'm always looking, how can the kids go? I go and watch football every weekend. I go and watch Swindon, or I go and try and watch a Premier League club. I'll take all the kids, all of them. So and I love that. So in a way, it kind of links to kind of what you're saying. That is my.
And you always say, no, I want to get back to my own bed. Never want to do, because you get speaking gigs all over the country and stuff. You always want to just get back. Doesn't matter how late.
It doesn't matter how late I get home. Yeah. Even like today. So I left the house at like 5 o'clock this morning, and I won't get home till 11 o'clock at night. And so I send a big long message to my wife to read to the kids and that I hate it. I hate being away from them. And like, you know, you went and did the weekend in Ireland, yeah? Part of me looks at that and thinks, I'd love to do that. But then part of me thinks that 24 hours away, I would get I'd be so itchy to like get home. I've never done it before, away for my kids that long. Not that long.
Yeah, I mean, I was away for 2 nights, but I find that I come back. So that was probably another example, actually, of a bit of self-care going away.
Definitely, yeah.
But I came, I think actually probably Ros went back to her parents, had some nice time just with her and her parents and me there, and the kids had some grandparents time and stuff like that. And I come back, you know, I obviously miss them, but actually and I remember actually my dad when we were younger used to go on the occasional little trip by himself just for a weekend or go walking or something like that, and probably made him a better father as a result from having that space. You know, he worked very, very hard, and then we were, you know, 3 kids are all pretty intense, needed that little breathing space.
Yeah, and can I like clarify that when I say you went away for them 2 days and all that, I'm not
I know
trying to dress myself up as like, oh no, I'm just an amazing dad, would never be away from my kids. Actually, what I'm pointing to is there is a level of, there's some stuff in there that probably needs looking at and a bit of like work around. Why can't I go away for 2 days and, you know, I would fall back into awful habits.
Is that what the fear is?
That's what the fear is.
Yeah.
I think because, you know, my head goes straight back to when I used to be in bed sits. And I'd run out of all money. I couldn't pay for the next bills, and I was off my nut, and I didn't want to be here anymore. So I think I've always got this fear of that utter isolation and loneliness. I think there's some of that in there that terrifies me, and then there's a lot of like codependent stuff in there as well. Of how do I find love for myself apart from other people? Do you understand what I'm saying by that?
Because also then what happens when the kids all grown up and they've moved out?
I'll just have a few more.
So what you're saying is you like to be on your own, but you like to know the kids are downstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love. Yeah, you know, when my house is empty, I'm all like, so we had it where me and Leah, the youngest 2, went to Leah's mum and dad's for the night, and all my other ones were out. I think they might have been at their mum's or something. We went out for dinner, and then when we come home, I'm like, we're just sat downstairs. The kids would normally be in bed anyway, and I'm sat down there like, I fucking don't like this. Should we go and get them? Do you know what I mean? Go and get the kids. But to your point, I fantasize about like retirement and finishing work and just being on my own. But if I actually look at it properly, it fucking terrifies me. All the kids gone, no work. Do you know what I mean? An allotment ain't gonna cut it.
You on the other hand.
We'll still be there, mate.
So tonight, we've got 35 men coming in.
Is that more than normal, or is that?
That's where we originally capped it about 30, and then we kind of stretched it a little bit.
Yeah.
But like usually there's a few guys who can't make it on the day, so we get a few more tickets. But then last time they all came.
Yeah.
And then we're squeezing them all in. So we need to get some more mats or something. That's what we need to do.
I've got loads of mats, mate. I just bought 40.
Have you?
Just bought 40 yoga mats, yeah.
Oh, nice.
You're still looking for a venue in Manchester, are you?
Yeah, sold out Nottingham, nearly sold out Glasgow.
Nice.
Yeah. So I had to buy loads of mats, yeah. So I just bought them.
Good
Where are
man.
you storing those?
He's going in the car.
Fucking loft. They are a nightmare, man.
Yeah.
They are a nightmare
yeah.
to store.
Yeah.
Oh my days. Anyway, tonight, 35 men. What's the plan? Have we got a plan?
Well, this is the thing. We don't tend to. I've got a couple of ideas around themes. So
Yeah.
I had an idea, and obviously this will go out after it happens tonight, but about the idea of what keeps you up at night. So say you can't sleep one night, what are you thinking about?
Yeah.
Because I think it's a really nice question to drill down to that thing which is really on your mind.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, I like it.
And getting people to talk about that. And we we don't like to go that heavy every month. You know, sometimes we talk about something we're proud of, or it can go in all sorts of directions.
Yeah.
But I think we should challenge people a little bit to go a little bit deeper here.
Is plenty of room in the question as well. You know what I mean? If
Yeah.
you're turning up at Uncommon Man like a lot of people do because, I don't know, they got a problem on making up the situation,
Yeah.
but a problem in their relationship.
Yeah.
What's keeping you up at night is going to be the fucking problem in your
Yeah.
relationship. So
Yeah.
they still get to bring what they want.
Yeah.
But then if you don't feel like you're bringing anything, it felt almost, when you said that, what's keeping you up at night, it felt, I was going to say, provocative. Is that the right word?
Because it's going to be one or two things. There'll be a specific thing,
Yeah.
or people will be like, "Oh, it's when I'm stressed or angry
Yes.
or something," and then they can dive into,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
why, what things have you been being angry,
Yeah.
stressed, or whatever?
Because I originally thought of like, you know, what is your biggest fear? But I think that is a bit. It's people are being put in a box to have to really go into something deep. Because realistically, all of our biggest fears are probably something. They're probably very similar, probably, but.
What's
Whereas,
your biggest fear, Rob?
sorry?
What's your biggest fear?
Our biggest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our biggest fear is that we are powerful beyond belief.
Whose quote is that?
Coach Carter.
Is it Coach Carter? Yeah.
My biggest fear.
Be aware of time, yeah? Got about
It's
fucking 10 minutes.
probably sort of almost like waking up age 60 or 70 and being like, fuck, why didn't I, you know, go for that or do X, Y, Z or believe in myself there or something. It's something like that.
Yeah, okay.
It's
that you
almost-
waste your life.
Yeah, but I have this thing about like missed opportunities. Like I always think about, you know, all the other options, and
Yeah.
sometimes that can paralyze me a little bit in terms of like what to do. I can get decision paralysis
Yeah.
because I think of, I look at all the nice ripe fruit and it all looks great, and then actually, you know, so it probably stems in that.
Yeah.
In that. Yeah. What about yourself? Aside from like your family being wiped out, you know, in a car crash or something, it's like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. It'd have to be 2 car crashes because
Yeah.
we don't.
have you not got one of those big people carriers? Or?
Not, we're getting
No.
one this
Okay,
year.
okay.
Actually. But no, my biggest. I don't like. It sounds too simplistic, but it's actually quite deep. It's just messing up. Like messing up. Like
Yeah.
I was saying this to my wife actually last night because we did. You know, we got some typical family stuff that was going on that we was chatting about, and like. I forget, and I think people close to me forget, that I was a fucking raging alcoholic addict 10 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Like a raging, and I'm not, you know, I've got more than just my sobriety nowadays. Like I'm not just, I had nothing. I was fucking £17,000 in debt. I had nothing when I quit drinking. And then you have your sobriety and you hold on to that. But now I've got like this family, the house, and like, and all of that, and
The stakes feel even higher.
the stakes feel really high sometimes. Do you know what I mean? For somebody who is ultimately, you know, a messy old soul trying to make my way in the world. Well, I know that sounds ridiculously cheesy, but like, I'm just trying to make my way. Do you know what I mean? And I still sometimes feel like the bloke that just quit drinking last week. Do you know what I mean? And so sometimes I do think to myself, fuck man, it could all end in a flash, you know? And I've seen it. I've seen that happen to people. And lost people close to me that, you know, that's happened to. So I think, yeah, messing up and losing it all, and yeah. It's hard because I say, like, in my mind, I'm going to being completely alone and losing everybody, but sometimes I fantasize about how amazing that would be as well. What about you, Mike?
For me, it's actually something I've been trying to tackle and think about a lot the last month. Is my biggest fear would be just have wasted my life worrying about everything. I worry so much about the future, like all the time, and it's just so consuming. This is why I'm hoping to get to this other side of it, but I can just picture like 18, 19 years old being like, why the fuck did you worry about all those insignificant things? And wasted so much energy, like negative energy, just worrying and worrying and worrying. And that's genuinely my biggest fear. That's why at the moment I'm in quite a painful zone at the moment of trying to understand it. And I'm getting there, but that's growth and like change at the moment what I'm going through at the moment is evidence that growth is quite painful.
Yeah.
But hopefully we'll come out the other side and I won't worry about worrying anymore.
It's interesting that that obviously you worry about stuff, which will be anything in life, right? But then your biggest fear is actually that the worrying is going to hold you back. So you're all completely aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so my next challenge is changing the
Yeah.
behaviour of worrying all the
Yeah.
time and bringing yourself back to the present, which is something I've always kind of struggled with a bit. So yeah, we'll see.
I think it's always nice to leave it on a big one like that.
Well, yeah. Actually, you were talking about what we're going to do tonight. So
Yeah.
you're going to finish that or not?
Well, no, I think we talk about what
Yeah.
keeps you up at night.
Yeah. So
And we use
really-
that, and we use that to kind of direct the shares
Yeah.
and get people to go into that. Possibly we start with a little icebreaker or something. We'll talk about that, and then we just go into the breath work. And I think people will kind of naturally work through some of that stuff in the breath work and let out some of that stuff.
Yeah, and get off
Yeah.
the nut.
Woo!
Lamre, you've seen it before, haven't you? You've seen the breath work, haven't you? Yeah.
Not experienced it myself.
We'll have to get you along to one of the sessions. Is Stefan coming today?
No, next month. Mate. Cool. Right.
No, to do the breath work on
Oh,
you.
right.
Oh, right. No, he's. I don't think he is. No.
Oh, okay. All right.
Right, lads. Lovely chat.
It's a wrap.
Lovely chat.